All right, so welcome to this very special teacher interaction session. My name is Karishma, and I'm going to be one of your facilitators this evening. Uh, I work for a company called Multi-Story Private Limited. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with the work that we do. We are a company that's been around since 2010, so nearly a decade now. And the main thing that we do is that we base our company in stories and storytelling products. We also have a publishing house. We've done some work in curriculum from K-12 to right down to LKG. We have a reading program, which is essentially a flagship product. It's called the Book Lovers Program for schools. I see some of the teachers are aware of this product. So what we do is we take storytelling to the classrooms, and we have activity book that kind of anchors storytelling and activities through them from classes 1 right up to classes 8. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been with the company for about 7 years now. And during this period of time, I have worked as an editor. I have met a lot of students. I've told a lot of stories. I conduct workshops with parents and with teachers. This is my first online workshop. I guess for a lot of us, this is the first time we're doing virtual sessions and virtual workshops. I have avid interest in early childhood development. Like I said in the beginning, we are a company which is entirely based on stories. And personally for me, I love stories and storytelling. Just the other day, I found a picture of me dressed up, and I would like to share that with you. Neeti, could you just show the first slide, please? This lockdown has given everyone a lot of opportunities to look through old albums. And I went through some of my pictures from the time I was, I think, in UKG or first standard. And I came across this picture. And it gave me the memory of, my mom reading Cinderella to me, I think 100 times when even before I could read. We had gone to these book fairs, and there was this entire Disney section. So we had picked up Lady and the Tramp, the usual storybooks that Disney puts out, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And of course, my favorite among all of this was Cinderella. You must be knowing the story of Cinderella. So the story is about this girl who is very poor. She is dressed in rags all the time. Her stepmother and her stepsisters are very mean to her. We all know the story. For me, as a 4-year-old, the transition of Cinderella from wearing those poor rags, to this magical silver dress really stuck in my mind. And I think when I was 5 and my class teacher asked us, okay, what character do you want to be? I was like, I want to wear that dress in the storybook that my mom used to read me. And I remember taking that storybook to my teacher and showing it to her. And I'm like, ma'am, I want to be this character. Deepti, could you go back to the slide and just show them the picture of. So I essentially told my teacher, ma'am, I want to have a dress. So they kind of tried to copy it. The school tailor tried to copy it. And then here everybody has worn their outfits. But it just goes to show you that, some stories really make an impact. And for 4-year-old me, Cinderella was a very big deal. Cinderella in her, the rags to riches story really appealed to me. Well, of course, now I'm an adult. I have other favorite storybook characters, but this was just a little something that I wanted to share with everybody today. We also have Deepti with us. Deepti, would you like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks, Karishma. So I also work for Multi-Story Learning. As I started off as a storyteller, I went to school in Chennai every day, and I was their facilitator. It was it was something that was completely new to me, because before then I didn't really have any training, or I didn't have any inclination to talk to kids, other than the fact that I loved storybooks. So it was an incredibly enriching experience talking to kids, telling them stories, and making sure that they read. And I know that is the same feeling that all of you share, and that is something that has that's the main focus or goal of our company, Multi-Story Learning, or the Book Lovers Program for schools, which is make children love reading storybooks. So by doing this session, I hope all of you are excited and not worried about the future of education. I know it's a really difficult time for you and as well for your students, but this is our way to kind of help you through that transition a little bit. Karishma will talk to you a little more about the power of storytelling and why we are here and what we can look forward to in the next few months. And once she's done, I will give you an overview of the kind of virtual platforms that your schools will probably be using. I see a lot of you have said yes for when I asked you in the poll about is your school conducting online sessions. That will be the norm, I think, in the future, at least for the next few months. So I would, I'll talk a little more about this once Karishma is done, but I'll just tell you that I'm here to help you out, and both of us are here to help you guys out however we can. So in the middle of the session, if you do have questions, you can use the chat box and you can ask us questions. Either of us will try to respond. But since there are 100 participants, I think it is best to keep everyone muted as of now. If you do have any network issues, try turning your video off. That might solve the bandwidth issue. If not, try to find a stronger place in your house which has better network, but that's as much as we can do. So yeah, enjoy the session. Like Karishma said, this is our first time doing it online, so if there are any hiccups, please forgive us. We are in the process of making this kind of teaching tool more efficient, and this is our first effort. So help us out, give us feedback, let us know what you would like to learn, let us know what your schools would like you to learn so we can teach you that. Yeah, that's about it from me. Over to you, Karishma.
Thanks, Deepti. So at this point, we typically do kind of an introduction of our participants as well. We are at 100, and getting to know everybody will just take too much of time. Over the course of the next hour and a half, we would like to have one-on-ones, answer questions. But let's just have a very simple icebreaker without unmuting ourselves. What we would like you to do is think about an action that describes you. It can be an interest of yours. It can be something that can be frozen and that can convey what you like in about 5 seconds, and then hold the pose. For example, I like dancing. So, my pose would probably be something like this or like this. So just think of an action, and on your screens, you would like to see a pose of something that you associate yourself with. So could we do that? Yeah? All right. So teachers, don't feel shy. Just come or go ahead. Let's participate in this. So, okay, let's get started. Come on, teachers. Very good. I see most of the teachers are doing this. Cooking. Okay. Someone's reading, someone else is dancing. Writing. Nice. Talking. Oh, I love that dance flows, ma'am. Very nice. Great. Okay. Should we get into, why we are here? What is the purpose of being here today? I know we did a simple poll at the beginning of the, before we started the session. Deepti, would you like to tell us a little bit about the poll?
Yeah, I think most of you did vote. 60% of you do use BLPS in your classes, but 35% of you have not heard of BLPS. If you do want to hear, if you do want to know more about us, we have a great website. It's called multistory.in. I'll put it in the chat box. So if you do have time later, please check us out. A lot of you have not attended a teacher workshop conducted by BLPS facilitators before, 62% of you. So we will spend some time in making sure that we cover all the basics of the workshop that we do in person. So what are you most hoping to get from this workshop? Majority of you have said the basics of stories and storytelling and how to become a better storyteller. So yes, definitely that are two things that we will cover. Karishma will go through the basics of stories and storytelling and storytelling techniques as well. And I will cover how to become a better storyteller, but with the input of the learning that we've had over the past few weeks, where we've done digital storytelling sessions and how to improve on that.
Yeah.
Karishma, let me know if you want me to share anything and I'll share.
Yeah, actually, can you share the change slide? One of the reasons we are all here on this online platform is because of change, right? There's a lot of change that's happening with us right now. There's a lot of change in the world. And you know what the pundits say, what is pretty much going to happen is that once things change, it's never really going to go back to the way things were. Over the past so many years, look at the way we think about sharing in a different way, for example. Next slide, Deepti. Sharing with our devices is probably used as much in day-to-day lives as, we associate sharing as a value, sharing your food or sharing your thoughts. It's all about sharing on a digital platform has become also on the same level. The weight of both the words are the same in today's society. With regard to, our with stories as well, there has been a lot of change with the way we consume stories. Parents reading stories to children or teachers telling stories to children. Next slide, Deepti. Has become more of how do we interact with the story on a digital platform. And the change that we are seeing with regard to teachers also is quite apparent. I guess teachers are no longer seen as vessels of knowledge. Now there's Google for a lot of things that we can look up for. But the onus is now on us as educators and on teachers to, put that effort into helping children develop their life skills. Because when you look into the future, the skills that are going to be in demand by any employer are going to be creativity, communication, collaboration, of course, alongside with your, empathy for others and your emotional intelligence. And, here is where storytelling comes in, because storytelling is a very powerful teaching tool. It kind of gives our students a perspective to view distant content in a more relatable manner. Just take what's happening with us today. Talking to children about virus. We're talking to primary children about the virus. If you tell them about pandemics, and if you're talking to them about immunity, and you talk to them about the bare facts, they might understand. But if you you highlight it in a way that is relatable to them. The virus is the enemy. The body cells are the soldiers. The enemy is entering into your body. and the soldiers need these weapons to fight against the enemy. But when the enemy is too much, too many enemies are around around you, the soldiers might not be able to do their job. So we need to exercise, we need to stay healthy. If you bring it to your class, and I'm again not talking just about stories, contemporary stories, fictional stories, but if you are able to storify facts, any text, it makes for better presentation skills. So yeah, I mean, based on what you said you want out of the outcome of today's session, the outcome should definitely be understanding stories, understanding techniques for storytelling, and how you can analyze text, then use these specific elements to kind of form a skeleton of a script that you are also better equipped to tell stories. And I guess one of the main outcomes we want of today's workshop is that everyone here should be at least well versed with regard to digital storytelling. So yes, that would be our objective or the goal of today's very short, brief session of 1.5 hours of getting everyone here equipped to tell stories better and be well versed with digital storytelling. So shall we take this forward? Yeah. Okay. All right. So on your screen is a timetable or a schedule of what we want to do in today's session. We are going to get into something about the why stories, the elements of stories. What are the elements of a good story? What is a story? How do you analyze stories? How do you analyze stories to make a good storytelling script and tell the story to students or tell the story to friends or teachers? And we will then see how our company, which is MSL, is taking on this challenge of going digital. Since such a high percentage of you all said that you do not know too much about BLPS, I'll tell you that we are a reading company. We have a reading curriculum called the Book Lovers Program for schools. And for the past 10 years in schools, 70 schools across Tamil Nadu and South India, our facilitators have been going to the classroom and we've been equipping teachers to carry out storytelling sessions in the classroom. Well, of course, as a result of this lockdown and looking at how things are progressing, we will not be going to the classroom. So for 3 weeks now, our storytellers have started doing our sessions online. We have made some mistakes, we have learned from them, and we hope to share our learnings with you today. Yeah. So let's directly get into the next part of it, which is why storytelling. I think I kind of covered why storytelling. We are talking about language, and in English language, everyone should be aware that there are 4 major skills, right? What are the 4 skills? Listening, speaking, reading, writing. Okay, so there are 4 main skills, right? When we talk about language: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. As teachers, what do you think is the most important skill? Could you just type your answer in the chat box? Okay. If you can all look at the chat box, almost everyone has said, most of you all have said listening. Some have said yes, reading, speaking. A few of you all have said all 4 skills are important. All 4 skills are important. Listening and speaking, all 4. So there is a mix. Yes, all 4 skills are important. In language, especially if you're teaching language, your child has to be immersed in the language. So not only do they need to listen in the language you're teaching them, they need to read in the language that you are teaching them, speak, write. So your child at the end of the day is like a sponge. Now you take your sponge and you immerse your sponge into a bucket of water so that they can swell up with the language. this is a method that we use in schools. All English medium schools, we teach math in the medium of instruction is English. English is taught in English. History is taught in English. So we teach in English medium schools by the method of immersion, which is why all 4 skills are very, very important. We can't just say that, reading is more important than writing, or speaking is more important than listening. We can't do that. But keeping this in mind that yes, all 4 skills are important, we at BLPS put a very important role on reading. And reading is going to be a very important 21st century skill. There is so much of information out there. So it is important for our students to be able to read this vast amount of text and make sense out of it. So storytelling is a great way to make children think of, yes, all the 4 skills in language, but place more of an emphasis on reading. Reading is a key skill. I think no one can question the reading is very important, right? We read obviously to learn about the language. We read so that it activates the creativity centers in our brain. People who read more, they imagine more. This is a proven scientific fact. Reading is great for your students to be able to do because it's an independent activity. If they're reading a textbook or whether they're reading a storybook, they can read it at their own pace and they can read it independently. They don't need a teacher, they don't need a friend, they don't need a parent, they don't need a sibling to do this activity with. So it's great, independent activity. When you read, your rate of flow of information is controlled. Someone is reading, for example, I might be talking too fast. Some of you might feel that I'm talking too slow, that I should increase my speed of talking. But when you're reading a book, you can pace it out to a speed that you're comfortable with. So that's brilliant, right? If you can choose the speed at which you can absorb information. Also, aside from being creative, and it sparks imagination, in schools, when we go for workshops like this, we do this exercise where we tell everyone, draw a monster. We basically tell teachers, draw a monster. What does a monster look like in your head? And if you have a paper in front of you, you can do this exercise. Go ahead, take 2 minutes and draw a monster. If you're done, you can show it up to the audience. I'm seeing Lindsay, Flora, yeah, that's very clear. I can see the teeth on that. Miss Veera Lakshmi ma'am's looks like a spidery kind of a monster. I'm looking at Pooja ma'am's picture. You have a little bit of your googly eyes. Oh, I like Gunashekharan ma'am's. It's like a blob with 2 antennae on the top. Nice. So thank you for showing this. One commonality in all your pictures, the commonality was it's different, right? When I asked you all to go ahead and draw a monster, I can see as Salom Chokalingam ma'am's picture. Some of them are cute, some of them are scary, some of them have horns, some of them have a single eye, some of them are having bunny rabbit ears, some of them look amoeba-like. When I asked you to imagine a monster, you imagined it and then you created it. Supposing I had shown you a picture of a monster, supposing I had drawn a monster or I had shown you a picture of a monster, say the monster, which is a very famous monster, Voldemort from Harry Potter. Supposing I had shown you that character, the villain of that book. And now I asked you, go ahead and draw a monster. Because I had shown you something, you would have not allowed your imaginative centers to take root as much, and you were probably just drawn what was shown to the audience. to show that imagination plays a very key role. Reading is important, is a skill that gets you to imagine, get your creative centers buzzing. So which is why our focus as part of the reading program is so much so on reading. Kirti, can we go back to the presentation? I want to quickly get into the elements of stories and storytelling so that we can get into some of those exercises that the teachers can do. Breaking down stories. What are some elements of a good story? Can you please just quickly type out what you think a story requires in the chat boxes? Spend a minute or two. Go ahead, put in whatever answers you feel. Yes, characters, of course. Theme, characters, plot, expression, a moral. A picture should have a picture book. Solution, yes. The story title, a good introduction, a good conclusion. Body language in a storybook, or the way they have the language style, the kind of font. Elements of a story, voice modulation, vocabulary, voice, okay. Setting, narration, design, okay. Beginning, sequence, concept, the amount of imagination used, hilarious. It should make you feel like there is something to laugh about. Sequencing, seriation, time duration. Good intro, plot, hook, ending, theme, tragedy. Okay, let's stop here. We got a lot of words to describe what are the elements of a story. I'll just be clear. I mean, when you read a story book, what are the elements? Okay. So some of these things like voice modulation, I'm assuming you're thinking of a story in a show or a story in a movie when you put in things like this. Okay, great. Next slide. Everything you said or whatever you put in the chat box is applicable to stories. A plot is very important, a theme is very important, character is important, setting is important, a conflict, a resolution is important. Someone said that a good story is something that makes you laugh. So it should be authentic. You should have some connect to the story. If you like the story or you're thinking of a story, the reason you're thinking of that story is because at some level it made an impact on you. You relate maybe to the character, you maybe relate to the setting, you maybe relate to the problem that the character is going through. Some of these things in the story made you recollect it, or you pick out stories because of the kind of genre it is. If you like murder mysteries, then you pick up murder mysteries. If you like romantic stories, then you'll go pick up books which have that kind of a romantic storyline in it. If you like stories with lots of twists and turns, you will go look out for thrillers. You might choose a book from a different genre and find a beautiful connect with the main character. The character might be going through something that you are going through. For whatever reason, you might form that connect. Think about a story that has made a connect with you. And just write it down. We'll come back to this in a little while. In your paper, don't put it on chat. Just write down one story. I'm sure there are a lot of stories that you really like. But for now, just write one story that has made an impact on you. Go ahead. Keep that story at the back of your mind. Okay? All right. So when you look at stories, any story worth its salt has a beginning, a middle, and an end. As soon as you open your book, right there at the beginning, you are introduced to some of the things that you put in the chat box, right? You're introduced to the character. And the character might have a want. The character wants to go to the ball, or the character wants to win the lottery. So the beginning is about the want of the character. The beginning also has the likes, dislikes of the character. The middle of stories normally have the problem. The man wants to win the lottery ticket, but there's a problem. He has no money to buy a lottery ticket. The end is a solution that answers the question, did the character get his want or not? Next slide, please. Look at the picture, right? Fastest finger first, identify the setting. Please use your chat box for this. Okay, so you have identified settings and some of you have already identified the characters. The story is one of the quite famous stories. Setting refers to the place. Setting also refers to when. So when do you think the story takes place? Go ahead and put it in the chat box. When do you think the story takes place? You've given us time of the day, morning, daytime, great. What time period do you think this takes place in? What time period do you think it takes in? Do you think this takes place in modern times? Or do you think it takes place long ago? Olden times, great. Long ago. Okay, just think about these things. So you've identified the settings, your answers are there. You identified the characters, great. Next slide, Deepti. Okay, go ahead and type out your answers. This is a very beloved character, and this character is very memorable. You remember this character because of the thing that he loves. All his stories are based, around this want and this love of his. He will do anything and everything to get what he wants. He loves honey. He doesn't mind climbing up trees, fighting with angry bees as long as he gets his honey. For the next slide, I want you in one message to type out the character, the want, and the setting. Okay, 3 things together, and the question that is asked. One message with as much information as possible. Deepti, next slide. The character, the want of the character, the setting, and the conflict. 4 things. Great. Your main character is the crow. His want is water. He can't get the water. He is in a field. Okay. Next slide. Again, a very famous character from literature. What is his conflict? What is the problem? Looking at this picture, what is his problem? He wants to be freed. He's tied up. Great. Next slide, Deepti. He wants to escape. Okay. So we are going to do an exercise. We are going to show you a short story. Next slide, Deepti. Please write. You can do this as a paper exercise. The want, the character, the want, the setting, the conflict, and the resolution. You can choose only one character that you're telling the story from. The want has to be from the character's perspective that you have chosen. Okay, I'm going to read some of these answers out. The main character is a camel. His want is that he needs warmth. The conflict is that, what is a conflict? Desert is the setting. So here, the conflict is what problem is the camel facing? So the camel wants warmth. What is the problem? What is preventing him from getting that warmth? His problem is the human in the tent. The tent is too, he is outside and it's a cold night. That's something we can use. This problem is that it's a cold night and he's outside in the cold. So now this is the problem. So we have got a want, our character, a want, a setting, which is the beginning of the story. The middle of the story is how he goes about solving his problem. Then there are other storytelling techniques that have come into play. So he puts his head inside first, then he puts in a little bit more of his body, then he puts in his entire body, and he's now fully in the tent and there's not enough space for the secondary character. For the resolution, did the camel get his want? Yes or no? But at the end of the story, do we know what happens to the man? Now the person inside the tent is gone outside. Okay. Now why don't we do this exercise from the point of view of the man? Take the man as your main character. Okay. Take your man as the main character now and do the same exercise. What does the man want? What is the problem? What is the resolution? Based on the text in front of you. The man wants warmth and shelter. He wants to help. The problem is the camel is selfish and uncaring. I'm reading what's being written. And what is the solution? Did the man get, if the man's want is to help the camel, did he get a solution? Yes, the man got his solution. But is the solution something that he's happy with? It's left as an open-ended question. So we have analyzed the story now. If you want to do a storytelling of the story, you will either do the storytelling as a narrator, or you do the storytelling from the point of view of the camel or the point of view of the man. So let's take that forward in a little bit. Can we move on to the next slide, Deepti? Okay. We discussed some of the things that make a good story. Plot, theme, character, want, conflict. You need to feel for the character. When you do a storytelling, what are some of the things that are required? Superb tone, expression, modulation, emotion, narration, props, yes, of course, costume, body language. You have to get behave like the character. Next slide, please, Deepti. So what we learned about beginning, middle, and end in a story book translates into something called as your hook, your hold, and your payoff when you're doing a storytelling. A hook is exactly what it sounds like. What is it that will hook your audience into what you are saying? Taking the example of the previous photograph of, say, Gulliver Travels. A hook can be a question that gets your audience thinking. Can you imagine living in a world where all the people are just the size of your little finger? It's a question, right? Or if you're doing a hook for Thirsty Crow, your question can be about relation. Have you ever felt so thirsty that your mouth was parched and there was no water around? Maybe after your sports practice, your water bottle is empty. Have you ever felt that feeling of thirst? Was it a good feeling or a bad feeling? That is another question which you can use to connect with your audience. So spark their curiosity, make a relation. Now I'm going to tell you a story about this character, or now I'm going to tell you a story about this situation. As soon as you get into you say a hook, you start introducing your characters. Thirsty Crow, I mean, this is a crow, long ago, in a desert. You lay the groundwork as part of your beginning of your storytelling. Then we come to the hold. The hold is where you have rising action and falling action. The hold in any story is when you exaggerate the problem. You give them increasing levels of drama. Take the rags to riches story of Cinderella. poor Cinderella had to go around in rags. That's very sad, right? That's bad fortune. But then she gets a fairy godmother who makes a beautiful dress for her. That is good fortune. But then after the ball gets over, she is locked in the dungeon. Very, very bad fortune. She's not given any food to eat. The prince comes and leaves her house also. But then the prince hears her singing, and he comes and he rescues her, marries her, makes her the princess, and there is very good fortune in her life. So there is a period of rising action and falling action in the story, which makes your hold and leads off into your payoff. Now imagine if we were to tell a story like Cinderella and leave the story without giving satisfaction to your audience. The princess was kept in the dungeon for the rest of her life. Would this make for a good story? Could you end the story here? There's no payback for your audience. Why would you give all your time and energy and effort to listen to a story when nothing happens in the end? So when you are doing a storytelling, you have to pay good amount of importance to the want of the character, the problem that appears in the situation, and the solution, or how his situation has undergone this change. Next slide, Deepti. Here are some storytelling tips. I will briefly talk about them, but then when we are showing you the digital storytelling part of it, we will do a little bit more analysis on that. Repetition, just a line that you keep saying again and again, get your audience involved with you. Exaggeration, obviously. The man was so fat that when he stood, his belly extended all the way to that wall. The giant Gulliver was so big that he stood tall. He was from the ground all the way up to the second story. You exaggerate and you give context to size and shape. Interaction, action, voice, practice, and repetition. These are all very important. If you're doing a storytelling, have a script in place, at least a skeleton of a script in place. Then you can add your layers over that. Next slide, Deepti.
So if there are no questions so far, can we all go ahead? Okay. Okay, I hope all of you can see me. Thank you so much, Karishma. That was a very informative session on storytelling. If you guys have any more questions on storytelling techniques specifically, you can make a note of it, and at the end of this session, we can answer all of your questions. So I just want to quickly run through a few things. First of all, I know that schools are going to be shut down for the next 2 months at least. So some of you will be losing at least maybe maximum 1 term the academic year, which is not an ideal situation. But there are ways to get through that. There are ways to facilitate virtual learning, which is what we've been kind of trying to investigate for the past few weeks. There are schools around the world that have taken this and made this common, and even post the lockdown, post the shutdown, there is a very, very real chance that this is not just a one-time scenario. This is the new normal. Like it or not, all of us have to get technologically upgraded, and it's not very hard. And there are countless resources to help you, us being one of them. So that's the first thing that I would like to talk about is the sum of the available resources. So the main thing, of course, your school might choose to do something completely different, but the commonality between all of these learning, there are some commonalities which I want to walk through with you right now. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is give you an overview of the platforms that your schools might be using. Um, the two most common platforms right now are Zoom, the one that we're using right now, and Google Classroom. Google Classroom does not have video calling features yet, so most schools use a combination of Zoom and Google Classroom. So if you have any specific platform related questions, you can ask me now. But as an overview, I'm going to tell you that Zoom for Education has a lot of features that you can use to your advantage. You can use reporting, you can track attendance, you can share your screen, you can play interactive games. There are countless tools, and I think Zoom is also updating themselves frequently. Um, Zoom, there was a problem about people hacking into Zoom. That only happened when it was not secured with a password. So if you have a password, then you have no worries. Zoom is not going to be banned. They are constantly updating their services. They are responding to all the criticism that they have encountered. And from what I know, that is they've already done it. They've updated their security features. Um, Someone says Zoom is going to be banned for 90 days. I have not read that. If that is true, there are other platforms such as Google Hangouts and WebEx and Microsoft um, Microsoft Team, I think. Zoom, the free version, has a 40-minute time limit, and um, the free version has a 40-minute time limit and 100 participants. The paid version is the pro one, which is what we're using now, is still 100 participants, but they've removed the time limit, and they have other um, uses like people can register, you have cloud recordings, you have these buttons that says yes, no, go slower, go faster, that your children can use. You have the poll option, which can use for testing or just to get a sort of feedback from your kids. There is something called Zoom for Education, which has much more options. I have not used that yet, but I think one of the main advantages of Zoom for Education is the fact that you can break into rooms. Like, for instance, if you have 100 participants, but you want to talk to 5 kids separately at a time, you can do that. You can create classrooms in one Zoom meeting. So there are many more advantages about Zoom, but I don't want to waste time going into that. Um, there is, I don't know if you guys have seen Google Classroom as well. You can use Google Classroom to keep a track of your class, just like how you would do in a virtual class. I just quickly show you what a Google Classroom would look like. So you can create classes, you can assign your students to specific classes. This is just a very small class that I've created. So this is the big advantage of Google Classroom, is where you can assign your work. You can create assignments, quizzes, materials. You can upload your materials. You can use Drive to keep all your things in the same place. You can use this place to give them quizzes. You can grade assignments virtually, and so on. It's pretty straightforward to use. It's not very complicated. So yeah, that is about Google Classroom. So these are just the two things that going forward, if schools are going to be moving completely online, these are two skills that you will definitely have to use. There are definitely lots of other software. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat simultaneously. Yeah, actually, if you're already using, I know some of you said you're using, you've already started online classes. It would be helpful if you could tell us what you are using currently. So someone says you've used Google Classroom. You also posted a video of a story. The disadvantage in Google Classroom is that they don't have video conferencing. But if your school buys G Suite for education, there is such a thing as Google Meet. From my research, I think people are using Google Meet. Like I said, people are using Google Classroom in addition to Zoom, or they're using Hangouts, but Hangouts is not really configured for for like a teaching student relationship. Some of them have um, some of them are using Microsoft WebEx as well. Let's move on. We can have more of a discussion about this. Maybe I would also like to talk about the pros and cons of virtual learning. There are a lot of cons. There is this disconnect between the teacher and the student. One big thing is the fact that there are so many distractions. Even now, if you're on your phone or your laptop, you're going to have notifications. It's so easy to just open the browser, click on Facebook, and scroll through. And basically, if your student does that, your teacher would never know. Someone asked if you can incorporate videos in Zoom. Yes, thank you for answering. Yes, you can incorporate. You can basically share videos and PDFs and other things. You can share your screen as well. I would like to talk about the pros of virtual learning. The one thing that physical learning, well, classroom learning doesn't have is, well, technology. We can use technology to our advantage. We can use the interactiveness of these virtual learning platforms to your advantage. Kids will love it. The one thing about today's kids is that they are not a stranger to technology. They are used to staring at screens way more than we are. So suppose you do have to teach them through a screen, that's not a bad thing. They will probably be more interested in you. Of course, the novelty is going to wear off after 2 months, but at least initially they're going to sit down and pay attention to you. But the only way that you can keep that going is how you use this platform. So one, use interactivity to the max. Um, there's one more thing that I realized while doing these online storytelling sessions is you can just mute them. How wonderful would it be to just mute noisy children in the classroom? That is a huge pro. Another thing is, of course, you can teach from anywhere. You can teach from the comfort of your house. Saying that, I realize, I understand that there is network issues, there are bandwidth issues for both you and your children, for both you and your students. That is something that I think schools need to work on. That is something for schools to solve. But as of now, we do realize that that is a big problem. The one way that we can solve it is to send video recordings, to send offline assignments, to make videos yourself and send it to your students to download whenever they can. You can send offline tests, assessments. You can get on smaller groups because that will reduce the bandwidth. There are ways to get around it, but it's going to be hard. So like I said, this is the future. There is no avoiding this. We've been talking to schools for the past few weeks, and we've been getting a sense of how they've been handling the situation, and it ranges from I have no idea to what I'm doing to there's a school in Bangalore that has gotten their entire syllabus online in a matter of weeks, and kids have already started learning. So transition time will depend from school to school. And over the next few weeks, we, Multi-Story Learning, are going to offer our services to your schools to help you reduce the transition time and to identify pain points and to make sure that the learning of your children is not affected. Okay, if you have no other questions about, someone asked if screen learning is really good. Well, there is really no substitute to in-person learning, but this is the next best thing that we have. The goal of the next few months is just to get through it. If you're looking for efficiency, if you're looking for 100% learning, that's not going to happen. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. So I think parents and, well, your students and yourself have more important things to worry about than whether your children, whether your students have finished the latest lesson or quiz. Um, but in having said that, we have to do our best to keep their education going, to keep them occupied, to help your children through this time in any way that we can, whether it be playing games with them on virtual learning, or whether we can just sit there and talk to them. Any little bit will help. Yes, we can record sessions in the Zoom Pro. I think there is a limit of 1 GB or something where you can record to your cloud and people can download. You can also record to your local computer. I don't think there's a limit for that. There's no file limit for that. And you can email it to them, or if you're using Google Classroom, you can upload those files to that folder. So yes, definitely, that is my point. Someone said in today's scenario, children are using mobile. We are going to make them use their make them use their mobile screen time productively. And that was the goal when we started our online storytelling sessions 3 weeks ago. We thought children are going to be in front of their screens anyway. And so why not make it productive? For the past 10 years, we have been going to schools and delivering and doing storytelling for children. With school shutdown, we were stuck in our office doing nothing. So we thought, let's use our skills and take it online. So 3 weeks ago, we started BLPS at home, which were online storytelling sessions. The first week we did daily sessions. We did one story every day, and from the second week onwards, we transitioned in doing 3 storytellings every day. Like Karishma said, we have a lot of learnings about it, and I would like to share some of that with you. We have 15 minutes left. So the first thing that I would say is use storytelling a lot during this time, especially for very young kids. There is no point in sitting and teaching concepts. I think the main goal of yours should be keeping them occupied as much as possible. So yeah, someone asked how online can be helpful for kindergarten kids. I think storytelling, this part of the session is most helpful for lower grade kids, where they're so restless and they're at home, but it's not vacation, they still have to learn. So storytelling is really the best tool that you have at your disposal. So like I said, we've been doing it for the past three weeks. The main disconnect that we felt, the main barrier that we felt, is the fact that we couldn't really see our audience. We basically, the storyteller had to talk to a screen. We eventually got used to it, but I think once you start your online sessions, that is something that you will also face. You will realize that, oh God, I can't see what their reaction is. I don't know what they're feeling. I can't tell. The reality of the fact is that your videos might be off in order to conserve bandwidth, which is what we did initially. And then over the course of the weeks, we asked them to start turning their videos on so we could see how they were doing. I also spoke about distractions. That's one thing that you'll have to overcome. The one thing that we did to overcome these distractions, and so the past 2 weeks, we've been doing 3 continuous storytelling sessions. And children do get a little antsy, and one way that we do Sorry, I'm just going to finish this and then I'll reply to the questions. The one way that we tried to keep them more interested and more focused on us was to do these pre and post storytelling activities. If you've done our program, if you've done BLPS in schools, you will know what I'm talking about. Basically, some very small, maybe physical activity to transition into the storytelling. So for the physical activity, we did stuff like, I am going to tell you an emotion, you make the face. So it'll be like anger or sadness, and then they'll have to make the face. Or I'm going to clap out a pattern, I want you all to follow me. So simple things. And one thing that we realized is 70% of what we do in class can be translated into virtual storytelling sessions. It takes a little bit of effort, and it takes a little bit of know-how of the platform that you're using, but it is possible. Once the session was over, um, once the storytelling session was over, we shared a PDF of a storybook and we did a reading of it. Sometimes I read out a little bit and made them repeat after me for the very young kids, or we just spoke about the pictures in the book and so on. We don't have a lot of time left. I would like to show you some clips of the recordings that we did over the past few weeks. Just give me 1 second. Can you all see me? Can you all see the screen? Okay. So over the past few weeks, our storytellers kind of found their footing, I can say. Like I said, initially it was a little bit odd for them to just talk to a screen. But over the course of the week, we kind of realized that in order to keep their attention, we need to use prompts.
Now, Mary the elephant, as you all know, Mary the elephant loved going to school. And when she was in school, her favorite period was, guess which period? Do you all know which period is your what is your favorite period? How many of you like games period the best? And because it had so many trees and so many plants, a lot of insects would come to the garden. Many insects like grasshoppers, bees, but Mary's favorite insect, her most favorite insect was this. Do you all know what insect this is?
So once our storytellers mastered the use of props, we realized we could add more elements and make our digital storytelling better than how a physical storytelling would be like. So here is a storyteller using sound to enhance her storytelling. Right. So basically, we used little sound clips throughout our storytelling sessions, and our storytellers have been using that quite well. We did some horror stories last week where we used eerie sounds. There was a storytelling yesterday of a rainy day story where we used the sound of thunder and lightning and so on.
But then Dave goes into the kitchen. Dave, what's happening? Amma, sorry, Amma. Oh. Enough, Dave, come outside. And Amma went into the kitchen. All the cutleries were broken.
Another thing that I would like to talk about is use your screen. If you're acting, use that space. You can hide, you can jump in, and so on. So we're going to watch Sukanya, one of our more experienced storytellers. She's a freelance storyteller.
Now she had no other choice. She started to run. She ran for her life, ran. She didn't know where she was going, running really fast. When finally she hid. And she hid and hid and hid. She hid behind a big boulder and she waited. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes passed, 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes passed, and she peeped out.
So I think we have about 10 minutes. We have about 5 minutes, but that I did want to talk about how to create. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the fact how to improve your virtual storytelling skills, the things that you need to think about. So one, presentation. Kids are going to be looking at you. Even if their videos are not on, you will have to be present in front of the video, and your video will have to be on. I know there are some teachers that we've spoken to that have a little bit of a problem with this, but eventually you will get used to it. So have a background, create a space in your house where you say, okay, here I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do class. I have good internet here, I have good lighting here. I can stand up and move around if I want to talk. There are not many distractions. People are not going to come walking in. There are not vehicle noises that we don't really have to worry about now. So that's one thing, that's presentation. Make sure you're groomed properly, make sure I don't know, your hair is combed. It's just basically think about it the way you would walk into class and then talk, how you talk to your kids. So that's using your available resources, like how I showed you. Use props, use voice. You can do puppetry. So these are mostly for younger kids that I'm talking about. Whatever tools that you would use in class, do it digitally and make it better. Basically make it so for a puppetry, for example, for a puppetry in class, you will have to set up, and you'll have to set up a table, you have to hide behind the table and so on. But here you just have to make sure whatever puppet you make is shown on the screen and you will be hidden. It's as simple as that. So take advantage of the fact that your students can see only this one box, and have fun with it, basically. Like Karishma mentioned in the beginning, there are ways where you can use your storytelling skills to your advantage. So if you all remember the storytelling skills that she shared in the beginning, repetition, exaggeration, interaction, repetition again, and so on. So use those skills, it translates the same way into a digital storytelling. So some of you are asking for an example. We have a storyteller here. I realize that we're almost out of time, but if you would like to
Let's do that. Let's ask everybody if they would like to see a storyteller in action. Otherwise, we can always send you a video of a storytelling.
Right.
So
for now, Sharvari, if you're ready, you can unmute your screen and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I know we're almost out of time, but this won't take very long, 10 minutes max. So the story I'm going to be telling you today is called Mary the Elephant's Show and Tell. Do you all know what show and tell is? Have you taken part in a show and tell competition? So now, today is Mary the Elephant's Show and Tell competition. And it's a very important day for her because of that, because she has been so excited about this competition. As soon as she heard about it, she wanted to perform really, really well. She wanted to have a really good show and tell performance. And she has been preparing for 1 whole week now. She has decided to show her favorite fruit in front of the class and talk about this fruit. And Mary has been practicing for 1 whole week. She has been standing in front of a mirror. She has been practicing her lines. And she's fully prepared now. And she's very, 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 very excited to talk about her favorite fruit. And now that she's actually in her classroom, about to present, the competition's just starting, Mary is starting to feel a bit of nervousness. She is starting to feel butterflies growing bigger and bigger, fluttering bigger, bigger, bigger in her stomach. She's starting to feel very, 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 very nervous. One of her friends, Chital the deer, comes to her and asks, Mary, what are you going to show and tell today? So Mary pulls out her cloth bag and says, my fruit is inside this cloth bag. I'm going to show and tell about my fruit today. So Chital the deer says, oh, what fruit is it? Now, because Mary is so nervous, the butterflies are going bigger and bigger and bigger. Mary seems to have forgotten the name of the fruit. What is the name? Is it Pomegranate? What is the name? Pony rabbit? No, is that the name? Oh, I don't remember the name. Wait, I'll show you from my bag. So Mary puts her hand inside her bag. I can't find it. Where is it? I put it inside the bag. Where is it? That's when Mary realizes that there is a big hole at the bottom of her bag, and that means her favorite fruit, which she was going to use for show and tell competition, not in the bag anymore. It must have fallen off. Oh no! How will I do show and tell if I don't have my fruit to show and tell? What do I do? What do I do? That's when one of Mary's friends, Farah the fox, comes. Mary, is this your fruit? Mary looks at the fruit. This is not my fruit. My fruit is round, just like this, but my fruit is not orange. Okay. Are you sure it's called Pony Rabbit? I don't remember the name, Mary said. That's when her friend, Reno the rhino, brings another fruit. Mary, is this your fruit? This fruit is red in color, just like you said. Is this your fruit? Mary looks at the fruit carefully. Yeah, I mean, this is an apple. An apple is red, but my fruit is red on the outside and red on the inside. Reno says, so your fruit is round and it's red on the outside, red on the inside. That's when Mary's other friend, G the langur, brings another fruit. Mary, is this your fruit? Mary looks at the fruit. Yeah, I mean, a strawberry is red on the outside and red on the inside, but my fruit is much bigger than a strawberry. G the langur looks at Mary and says, red on the outside, red on the inside, bigger than a strawberry, and it's round. Are you sure you don't remember the name, Mary? I don't remember the name. I think it's something like Pony Rabbit, but I don't remember the name. So that's when one of her other friends, Chital the deer, brings another fruit. Mary, is this your fruit? It's round, it's bigger than a strawberry, it's red on the outside, it's red on the inside. Is this your fruit? Mary looks at the fruit. No, this is not my fruit. This is a tomato. But my fruit is red on the outside, red on the inside, round, but it also has red color seeds, just like rubies. Now, all of them are thinking and thinking and thinking. And that's when the class teacher, Miss Moo, comes along with this fruit. Can you all recognize what this fruit is? Mary looks at the fruit. Mary, is this your fruit? Miss Moo asks Mary. Mary looks at the fruit. Yes, Miss Moo, that is my fruit. This is my pomegranate. This is pony rabbit. Mary says. Miss Moo looks at Mary and says, Mary, this is not a pomegranate. This is not a pony rabbit. This is a pomegranate. And Mary laughs and says, ha, yeah, that's what it is. That's my fruit. My fruit is a pomegranate. So then Miss Moo asks, Mary, are you ready to do show and tell now? Can you stand in front of the whole class and do show and tell? Mary says, yes, now I can do show and tell. So Mary goes and stands in front of class. She's going to start her show and tell, but then she looks up and sees the whole class of students staring at her, and Mary starts to feel nervous again. Oh no, ma'am, Miss Moo, I feel like I have forgotten everything about a pomegranate. I only remember the name now. I have forgotten everything else that I practiced. That's when Farah the fox comes and says, Mary, remember, you told me that the fruit that you have, that you're looking for, the pomegranate, is red in color. So that can be fact number 1. And then Reno the rhino comes along and says, yeah, Mary, and you also told me that the fruit you have, the pomegranate, is red on the outside and red on the inside. That's fact number 2. Oh, thanks, Reno. And that's when G the langur comes with the 3rd fact. Remember, Mary, you said when I showed you the strawberry, you said, yeah, my fruit is red on the outside, red on the inside, but it's also bigger than a strawberry. So that can be fact number 3. A pomegranate is bigger than a strawberry. So Mary says, yes, that's fact number 3. What's fact number 4? And that's when Chital the deer comes and says, remember, Mary, remember the last fact you said the seeds of the pomegranate are inside the fruit and are red in color, are like rubies. So Mary says, yes, that's fact number 4. And you know what fact number 5 is? That a pomegranate is a very, 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 very healthy fruit, and everybody should eat pomegranates because it tastes yummy. And so Miss Moo comes and says, yes, pomegranates do taste very yummy. So I'm going to cut this open and we can all share it now in group. So Miss Moo cuts open the pomegranate and everybody eats the fruit. And yeah, that's the end of the story. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that was a good demo in helping sort of demonstrate how online storytelling can be a very effective tool at a time like this. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shar. And I think the comments also show that people have really enjoyed your storytelling. So I guess that's the end of our session. Karishma, do you have anything else to add?
Let's take questions for a few minutes. I know people put up their hands during the session. It was very long and we had a lot to talk about. Normally when we do these sessions, we do it over a period of 5 hours. we've kind of condensed a lot of material in a very short period of time. So if there is something that you would like to know a little bit more about, we could always send you the material for it, or we could look at doing maybe another workshop at a later date. But right now, if there are any questions that you would like either Deepti or me to answer, the floor is open for that.
Yeah, you can use this story. So the story was actually, this series was created by Karishma called Mary the Elephant. We have 10 books in that, which Karishma worked on, and it's come out really well. This is, I think, the third or fourth book in that series called Mary the Elephant's Show and Tell. There are 10 books that each explore a different theme and a learnings outcome. And yeah, that's all, Karishma.
Good evening.
The book was written
It's
by
Pooja.
Sorry. Hi.
Good
Yes.
evening, Pooja.
Hello. So actually this books, what Karishma had done. So are these books available online?
So, Karishma, sorry, you can go ahead. I'll give you the link to our website.
Yeah, Deepti is putting the link right now in the chat box. Before the lockdown, these books were available on the site, on this link, and also on Amazon. If you would like this book right away for your personal purpose, I think Deepti can share a soft copy of it with you. If you're looking to use this as part of a, like, see, for BLPS, we give these books as part of the program. So every child has a copy of this book, and we read the book with the children as a community. We communitize the act of reading, and that really motivates them and gets them into the reading habit.
Yeah, that's
it
really
really-
appreciate, because reading is one of the most important thing as per the skills. So it will be really nice if we can get the soft copy, Deepti.
Sure. I can send you some soft copies of the books that we've been using.
So you will be mailed, you will be shared through mail?
So what we've been doing for the BLPS at home is whoever's registered gets a link to a Google Drive, which has the soft copy of the books that we do a storytelling of, as well as some activities as a follow-up.
Yeah, so every story will be having a follow-up activity, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Several follow-up activities.
Several
Yes, yes,
follow-up activities.
yes.
I will share the links to these Google Drives with you.
Sure. Thank you, Deepti.
I will
Thank you, Karishma.
email them with maybe a recording of this session as well.
That will be so nice. Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else about learning, looking at analyzing texts to do storytelling from the stories that you already have in your libraries, or just some general feedback or some general problems that you all are dealing with at this point, which maybe Deepti and I can sympathize with, and maybe we can talk to you about our learnings.
Hi, Deepti. This is Soumya. Actually, we have been using the BLPS for our school for the past 2 years.
Sorry, can you be a little louder?
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, we have been using the BLPS for our school for the past 2 years.
Right.
Like you rightly said, this lockdown period, and we were wondering now how to start the virtual classrooms for the kindergarten students. So you have been sharing that, sending the soft copies to the registered link. Can you please send the soft copy of those books also? Because right now we cannot go to the school to get the books in hand with us. So if you send us the soft copies, we can have the virtual storytelling classes for our kindergarten students, which we have been planning for the next
Sure, ma'am. Can I know which school you're part of?
from CARE International School, Trichurapalli.
CARE International, of course. Yeah, I think maybe Pratik would have been in communication with your school. We'll be looking to start the program online very soon.
Okay.
But for now, I think one way that we can help all of you teachers is to share what we've already done, what you already put online as free PDFs. So feel free to use them for your students. Feel free to use the activities. Feel free to share it with your teacher friends as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll call this session to a close if there are no more questions.
Hi, Deepti and Karishma. Thank you so
Hi.
much for this session. This is Divya here.
Hi, Divya.
Hi. Regarding the analyzing part, if you could give us one more demo on majorly stories that are used with kindergarten, it will help us. Because with analyzing is where the story has more interest. Maybe one more
Right.
session with familiar stories.
Okay. See, for this, it will be best if we can spend some time on it. Analysis of stories is something that we can probably look at doing at a later date. We have some, some documentation on how we go about picking out these elements from stories which are later on used for storytelling. That we can definitely share with you right away.
That will help.
Okay.
Thank you, Krishna. Let's call the session to a close. Like DP's already put up on the chat, if anyone has any follow-up questions, you can always reach out to this email ID and we'll be more than happy to, answer, send you content, send you video clips, etc. So thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.